Hey everybody, Chris here. So for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin, is this just a cycle market dip or is there something bigger going on? We're going to talk about that in this video. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel, hit that little notification bell too. You can be notified when my new videos come out, as well as when I do live streams. And we've been watching how the market liquidations continue. The market makers are in control since last Friday's Jerome Powell Jackson Hole speech. They've got everybody excited and the market steamed upwards, followed by the retrace over the weekend, and the negativity going into this week continues. So how fragile is the market? Do we see recovery? Will there be further dips? Let's explore that. Let me show you the charts of the news. I'll show you what I'm looking at. And we start here looking at the Bitcoin chart. And from yesterday afternoon, the market is mixed. That's right, we have a mix of green and red across the market over the last 12 hours. This is the mark that we put in on the Bitcoin chart during the live stream on Monday at 1095. Seeing whether that was going to be a local bottom, and then later last night, we did have a dip down into the 108s on Bitcoin. Started to recover a bit overnight, but this morning showing more weakness. So overall, again, we zoom out and we look at how Bitcoin traded from Friday and the big move up, and then slowly moving down until the big whale dumped a bunch of Bitcoin onto the market, had the dip down to 110.5, followed by now 109s now. So that is Bitcoin. Bitcoin now much lower than it was at the spring point there before the Jerome Powell speech on Friday. That's an interesting data point there because we look at ETH, and ETH is actually still above that spring point there. That spring point was 42.50. ETH has not returned back to that level yet. So more support for ETH than Bitcoin. So again, we've been talking about a possible rotation from Bitcoin into ETH, and we see that happening. There are others as well, like Solana. Solana is also above, and a lot of talk about Solana treasuries and Solana blockchain with where are the next stable coins going to be housed, all of that stuff. So Solana is above its spring point. We look at Cardano, slightly above that spring point. And then Dogecoin has actually now equaled the spring point where it moved from Friday. So interesting just data points and seeing how different cryptos have traded since then. So what's going on and what is all of this right here? Is this just a cycle dip, or is it a sign of more weakness and possibly cycle top has already been in? So we see Ethereum, Dogecoin, Bitcoin plunge, $900 million in bullish bets getting liquidated. That's right, we've been watching all weekend long, again on the heat maps, that leveraged traders are getting liquidated. So that is the big move. And is that all just market makers? Is this just all market makers pushing the price down? But again, once you start seeing the red candles, like that first one there that we had here on Sunday, following the big whale for Bitcoin that sold, you get a lot of retail traders, some taking profits, but some, as the cascading red candles appear, there's fear, and the paper hands sell on the fear. So that is a narrative that does continue. The sharp move appears to be the result of over-leveraged positioning, particularly following ETH's recent run-up. So, I mean, that's what we see. And I come down all the way to the end of this article, and we see that, what's going on coming. We have got GDP data due on August 28th, U.S. unemployment figures early September. Traders are bracing for more chop. And then what did I call, right? The summer of chop. So traders bracing for more chop. Leverage may have flushed, but the setup suggests the path ahead could remain volatile, especially for ETH, where positioning looks more stretched, flows more concentrated than Bitcoin. So that's what we see coming up. Trader Allen looks at Bitcoin and says, look, on the big scale, Zooming out over the past year, we now have this giant inverse head and shoulders that happened, right? Came up above that neckline, came back and retested it before moving higher. Unfortunately, the retest is continuing and we're still seeing weakness in Bitcoin, and it isn't moving higher like that purple arrow suggests. It's showing a lot more weakness. So I think Bitcoin's going to bleed out sideways out of that pattern. Again, I'm not the huge fan of patterns, but I do show them anyway and comment on them. Merlin's like, look, Bitcoin final test is here. The market screams bullish. The chart whispers a double top. The last line of defense of 112K was broken. Liquidations flooding the market. Weak hands fold. Legends accumulate here. Only one side wins. Which side are you on? So as we see the weakness coming down, where is the Bitcoin price going to go? You know, Ben Cowan into the cryptoverse talking about the bull market support band, and Bitcoin needs to hit that before moving higher, as it has in every past cycle, and maybe even wick below it, as Ben showed on his charts as well. So that is still in play, and is Bitcoin going to find that? We'll be watching that. But again, we're just following the history, and we look at the last cycles and what happened from 2013, 2017, 2021, and here we are now in 2025, the fourth Bitcoin cycle, days after the halving. Where is this trading happening? And look at that. It's almost like every summer we have these big dips. The big dips happen, and we're here, and this is no different than what we had in 2021. No different than what happened in 2017. Even as bullish as 2017 was, it still had big pullbacks. The pullbacks happen. Every cycle dips around the same time. Weak hands call it the top. Strong hands know it's the setup. What comes after? The biggest, most violent pump of the entire cycle. Now, I think the pumps are getting a little less pronounced, and I'm expecting this fourth cycle here to still have a pump in Bitcoin, but not at the same percentages we've had before. Again, that's just my outlook on it. You know, it's over a $2 trillion asset now. Harder to move those big gains for Bitcoin. Whether it's Bitcoin or ETH, all-time highs breaks rarely go smoothly. Often Bitcoin is rejected from previous all-time high and then fallen 10%, only to go for the proper breakout later. Once price holds and stabilizes above a previous all-time high for several days, that's when you can start betting on it extending much higher. There's no harm in waiting for that confirmation. Buying new all-time high breaks might seem stupid at first, but people that have done so have generally done pretty well. In this instant, ETH will break 5,000, and it needs to do that for some time, and that would show the strength you would need for then price discovery run that tends to follow. Again, this is all on the 4-year cycles, all looking at prices still going higher through the rest of this cycle. So, where are we right now? ETH swept its all-time high on Sunday. So we had the big all-time high and then the pullback. So we're in this pullback right now. Okay? So from that sell-off fills the inefficiency from the Powell candle that was created last Friday. The 4-hour trend has been very strong since the start of July. So we've seen this big move up from the start of July. Not as big a pullback, into the first few days of August as we saw on other alts. And then this bigger move. We've got the 200 EMA coming up, and we're not anywhere near it on ETH. So other cryptos are hitting their 200 day moving or 4-hour moving average and actually falling below it. So for ETH, the trend is strong. What does this mean for Doge? Well, Doge, we've got our stochastic RSI is oversold. So we're oversold. And we're in that area on the stochastic RSI where you typically see this rebound, probably another dip, and then a move up. That's typically what we see, and we're at that point right now for Dogecoin. So that's what we're watching on that chart. Again, for Doge, might be experiencing the last opportunity to invest before the surge. Now, we know that Trader Allen loves to always use the fractals from last November. Now, November 2024 was a special time. Trump wins the presidential election. Elon and Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, and all of that. So, I mean, it makes for a nice fractal to show what could happen, but it has to be a different narrative this time because that was last year, right? But there are some patterns. There are some patterns that play into the fractal, and it could be something else. In October, it could be Dogecoin ETFs, and we could have Doge OS, and we could have House of Doge and BitOrigin and all these other things for Doge, creating all the excitement that could get the FOMO to come in. So all of that comes in. It's still just a pattern on a chart, and for those that love charting, right, there you go. There's another pattern for you to look at. So what is Doge OS? The ecosystem is evolving, developers exploring new tools designed to extend its use beyond just meme origins. One of the notable projects under discussion is Doge OS. And with Doge OS, it's going to be this a network with tangible applications. Dogecoin is going to interact with one of the largest ecosystems in the blockchain, reinforcing a utility narrative. Can you believe that with Dogecoin? Developers emphasizing that improving interoperability remains a critical step for Dogecoin's long-term relevance in the digital asset economy. So these are all the things we're seeing being built. We're waiting for them to come out into the market. We are waiting. Meanwhile, the whale activity, whales are buying the dips. Dogecoin's payment use case is gaining attention. So Dogecoin already enjoys broad community recognition, strengthens its positioning in the payments debate. Businesses experimenting with cryptocurrency adoption often include Dogecoin in their accepted payment lists, citing ease of use, community-driven branding. So that's what we're watching for Dogecoin. And meanwhile, again, I show this one again, and this is just a caution because 2023, 2024, Jerome Powell also spoke at Jackson Hole in August, late August, and there was always a pump, like back in 2023, he had a big pump in the price of Bitcoin, and then it dumped. And here again, 2024, a big pump in the price of Bitcoin, and then it dumped. And then the same thing's happening right now. Big pump and then a dump. And what I caution is we'll go a little sideways. It happened in 2023, and then early September, there was another dump. There was another big dip. Same thing happened in 2024. Went a little sideways and then another dump, a little bit lower. Now, could we have that here in 2025? Go sideways and then another dump. Will it be lower? Possibly, if history repeats. But then look what happened in 2023, right? By mid-September, Bitcoin was moving up, and in October, it took off. Look what happened in 2024, right? By mid-September, Bitcoin was moving up, and then in October, it took off. So, that same pattern is playing out. That's why I say cycles, right? This is a cycle dip. It happened before, not only in the 2 previous years, but it also happened in the 3 previous cycles. So all of that leads to, are you fearful? Are you afraid that we've already topped for the cycle and it's going to go down from here? There's some people in the chat who believe that, or that we're just going to go crashing much, much lower before recovering. I'm not in that camp, though. I think this is going to be sideways chop, and we're going to have another dip, and we're most likely going to go higher. So, diamond hands, buying the dips. That's what I'm doing. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think about the cycle dip theory here, and whether you think the cycle is over or not. Give the video a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate the support. We'll see you next time.